Greetings metalheads and welcome to No Nonsense Metal Reviews. I'm George and today I'm back with another collection update, but this time it's a very special collection update. It is in fact an Iron Maiden vinyl exclusive collection update. I've got 6 vinyl editions to the collection here from one of the biggest bands in metal, one of the biggest bands in music, one of the pioneers of the new wave of British heavy metal, one of the best bands in metal, without a doubt. And Iron Maiden are a band that hold a very dear place in my heart, as they do in the hearts of millions of metalheads and music fans across the globe. But I recently stumbled across a seller or a store on eBay, selling through eBay, that had a series of a little collection, assortment of Iron Maiden vinyl albums, which are, well, 5 of them in fact are from a reissue series from 2014, Parlophone Records reissue series. I think it originates from the USA, but they were available new and sealed from this particular seller for between £14 and £16. Now, you might say £14, £16, that's still a lot of money, but it's not for new and sealed Iron Maiden vinyl. And I would love to have the originals. You know, I'd love to have all the original prints and presses of, you know, Made in Japan and Made in Japan, I should say. And I have Number of the Beast, but I don't have Killers, don't have the self-titled album. You know, I'd love to have those, of course I would, but if I can get a nice, pristine, luxuriously packaged vinyl reissue from 10 years ago for 14 quid, I'm gonna go with that, because I would rather have the nice vinyl, have it on the turntable and enjoy it, than pay silly money for a beat up, scuffed up old version. Although, if I did have the money for it, I'm sure I probably would be willing to splash out on the originals for everything. But that said, I've got these lovely reissues here. Well, we're going to go through them in chronological order. So first up, we have the absolute masterpiece that is 1983's album number 4, Peace of Mind. I love this album so much. It's one of my, I'd say it's easily a top 5 Maiden album, definitely. I wouldn't like to go any more specific than that at this time. Hint, hint, currently working on an Iron Maiden album ranking, which is proving to be very difficult. But Peace of Mind, the second album to feature Bruce, the Air Raid Siren Dickinson on vocals. Here, shown in this glossy gatefold package, as I say, Parlophone Records, 1983 original release, 2014 reissue release. They're all just black vinyl, which is absolutely fine. So I'm not going to tackle every one of these out of its inner sleeve, but I will show off that always interesting little sticker that we get on the inside there, on the inner circle of Peace of Mind, with a brain on those veggies. Very interesting. But what a fantastic album. I believe it was the first album. Yes, it would have been the first album to feature Nico McBride on drums. And what an introduction that is. Kicking the album off with Where Eagles Dare. Some of the best drumming ever. Absolute stormer and essential Iron Maiden track that is. Absolutely love it. The kind of more melodic, slightly mid-tempo Revelations, the legendary track that is. Flight of Icarus, that soaring catchy chorus there, absolutely fantastic. Then we've got the rousing heavy metal of Die With Your Boots On, before we get the full throttle galloping Trooper. Still Life, an interesting slower paced track, very interesting. The rather upbeat and vibrant Quest for Fire. And we get Sun and Steel, again, just so catchy, and To Tame a Land. This is just such a good album. Start to finish, this is a brilliant album, and it's lovely on this big gatefold vinyl format. I'm so chuffed to have found this. And it was literally 14 quid, which seems absolutely criminal. but I have benefited from that terrible grime. So we've got Peace of Mind. Then I also managed to acquire album number 5, the follow-up to Peace of Mind. This is Power Slave. I believe this was 85, to remind myself. 84, beg your pardon. 1984, Power Slave. One of the best album covers ever, and certainly one of the best Maiden album covers, and just one of the best Maiden albums. For a long time, this was my outright favourite Maiden album. There might have been some slight movement on that over the years, but not massively. Not massively so. It's still up there in the top 5, 100%. Kicking off with Aces High. Wow. What a track. What a Maiden classic. What a glorious, glorious track that is. On this one, we've got a lovely printed inner sleeve. As I say, it is a black vinyl again. But actually, I am going to tackle it out just for that iconic sticker. Power Slave. And then the eye with maggots on it. Gruesome. So yes, what an album kicker, that kicker offer intro that is, I should say. Aces High, absolutely stunning masterpiece. I love it when they play that live. Then we've got 2 Minutes to Midnight, a much more traditional heavy metal track, an earlier Maiden sounding track in there. It's almost a Priest-esque track. I love that one. It's a classic, of course. Then we've got the great instrumental Lost for Words, Big Aura. The stunning succession of Flash of the Blades, The Duelists, and Back in the Village. They're all really great, rousing heavy metal tracks. Absolutely love them. Start to finish, just fantastic stuff. Especially Back in the Village. So, I mean, Bruce's vocals, wow. And it's so freaking catchy. Title track, Power Slave, one of my favourite Maiden tracks. One of the best Maiden tracks of all times, definitely. And then the epic Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner, which closes the album out there. Absolute masterpiece. 14 minutes, I believe it is, of just epic storytelling Maiden. And of course, we can't forget to mention the production by Martin the Farmer Birch, a legend that he is. So we've got Power Slave. Again, lovely to have that on vinyl. Such a glorious album. So chuffed to have that. And these are all part of the same series. They've all got that nice kind of glossy finish there. Keeping in succession then, we've now got Somewhere in Time. And this was 86, wasn't it? 86. Wow. I love this album as well. To be honest, there are some Maiden albums that I'm not particularly keen on, but the vast majority of Maiden's albums are stunning, and I freaking love them. But this one is a personal favourite. Absolutely love Somewhere in Time. I remember the first time I heard this, hearing Caught Somewhere in Time, Wasted Years, Sea of Madness, Heaven Can Wait. And I just thought this was the epitome of magnificent heavy metal. Of heavy metal. It's a heavy album. But that guitar work, I mean, Adrian Smith and Dave Murray, they are one of the greatest guitar duos ever. I love Yannick Gears. I think he's a great guitarist as well. Thrown into the mix, you've got the ultimate guitar lineup there. Steve Harris, his bass work makes Maiden, but Nico's drumming is absolutely signature, as is Bruce's vocals. It's just a perfect concoction of musicianship there. Absolutely love it. Side A, so freaking strong. And then side B, the loneliness of the long distance runner with that soaring, mighty chorus there. Absolutely love it. Stranger in a Strange Land. What a groovy track that is. Deja Vu, up pace, up tempo, before the closing glory of Alexander the Great. Another spectacular track, which, sad to say, I haven't had a chance to see Maiden live on their recent tours, but they've been digging out Alexander the Great, and I'd love to see that track perform live. Definitely. So we've got Peace of Mind, we've got Power Slave, and we've got Somewhere in Time from that classic earlier years, that initial period. So now we're going to fast forward to post Blaze Bayley era. You know, we've gotten the reunion out the way. We've had the amazing, majestic Brave New World, one of my favourite Maiden albums again. We've gone through the criminally underrated Dance of Death, and now we're on that tour. And this is Death on the Road, the live album, a double live album again, in lovely gatefold format. Such a nice package, and this was about £16. So this was on the upper end of the cost spectrum there, but it's a really nice package. You know, I've got this on CD as well, but I was not going to miss this one. So these are just black inner sleeves there, so nothing particularly fancy. Some cool photographs on the inside of the inner sleeve there. But it's a great album. It's a great live album. The live recording itself is brilliant. You know, it's a really good live set. Very heavily drawn, obviously, on the Dance of Death album, where we've got Wildest Dreams, which is a fantastic song. We get Dance of Death, which is a very folk orientated. It's an interesting track because it's very melodic, but it's got a real good mid-tempo to it. It's a really, really good folk injected track. Rainmaker, which is arguably my favourite track from that album. It's got angst, it's got frustration in it, but it's also got power, and it's got Maiden metal energy. Passchendaele, with all of its darkness and harrowing lyrical and musical nature. It's a really good track, really just a stunner. No More Lies, a bit of an interesting one. You know, it's a pretty soaring track, definitely. It's one of the more interesting tracks from that Dance of Death album, I'd say. Then we get Journeyman as well, which is a much slower number. You know, it's more of a melancholic kind of slow pace track, but a good one. But then in between time, we've just got a catalogue of classics here. We've got Wrathchild, going all the way back to the opening, well, the second track from, and first track proper from Killers. Then we've got Can I Play With Madness, the amazing upbeat track and single from Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. Then we've got The Trooper. We've got the title track Brave New World in there. We've got Lord of the Flies, drawn from the Blaze Bayley era. Hallowed Be Thy Name, which is one of the greatest metal tracks of all time. Fear of the Dark, which is a very folky track again. And then we've got Iron Maiden, Number of the Beast, Run to the Hills. Just all Maiden classics, really. So this is a great live album. I love it. It's not quite as good as Rock in Rio, no, but I think it's a solid live effort anyway. So there it is, Death on the Road. Now we're keeping live to one of the only Maiden albums that I don't have on CD. And I say one of the only. I don't know if you can actually really get hold of a CD of Maiden Japan. I don't have that either. But this is the only one that comes to mind that I don't have on CD. I've got so many other Maiden live albums, but for some reason I haven't got this one. This is one of the first sort of Maiden retrospectives and greatest hits tours that Maiden did. This is Flight 666, the soundtrack. So again, it's a double album. Really nice package. Amazing picture on the inside of that gatefold sleeve there, with Eddie ripping apart Ed Force One and a very worried looking Bruce with the sort of creepy Punch and Judy looking creature from the Accident of Birth album sleeve. Very cool. Amazing. This is just pure greatest hits. Aces High, 2 Minutes to Midnight, Revelations, The Trooper. I could just go through the whole track listing and running order, and this is just greatest hits, very heavily drawn from the, well, let's just say the first, 5-6 albums. Just brilliant, absolutely fantastic stuff. Not a bad track on there whatsoever. Absolutely love it. the recording quality is good, the sound quality is good. You know, Maiden don't really do bad live albums. They just do Maiden live albums. And this is a good one, I will say. I've been really quite impressed, and actually I probably need to pick up a CD copy of it as well, just because it just doesn't feel complete without it. But again, for 16 quid, that's a nice double live album. For when you're getting on the beers, you're in your cups, and you just need to put some consistent, reliable music on, I could reach for that. Easy. So then we come to the final article, which is not of that series. This is actually the most recent full-length album, double album, 88 minutes of Maiden. This is Senjutsu, which at first I wasn't necessarily entirely taken to, but with subsequent listens and over time, I have come to love and appreciate. So this is a triple vinyl version. Massive fold out here, tri-fold sleeve, really nice package. This is pretty stunning stuff. But this I actually got on Amazon for £20, and it is the Amazon exclusive version. So every disc has nice printed inner sleeves. They're all very glossy and very shiny, and the colour scheme for this one is this sort of silver marbled effect. Awesome. Freaking cool. Really nice colour scheme. I love it. You know, when this album came out, I think that I had really high expectations, given the quality of albums that we had before that. You know, Book of Souls was a great album. Very grand, very big. Before that, we had The Final Frontier, which was an album that I absolutely loved. I know that it gets very mixed opinions and mixed reviews, but I personally love that album. Before that, we had the brilliant Matter of Life and Death. We had Dance of Death. We also had Brave New World. So they'd been on a fine run. I had very high expectations. And for some reason, I was initially a little bit underwhelmed. A little bit underwhelmed as to this album and where it was going. It kicks off with the title track Senjutsu, and then we go into Strategio. Both of them are quite mid or lower paced tracks. They're not sort of galloping heavy metal. They're not Maiden charging out right from the off. And I think that kind of surprised me a little bit. Then we get The Writing on the Wall, which has this almost American Wild West sounding Southern rock tinted track, and it's different. It was one of the singles. Again, not particularly fast track at all. Then we had Lost in a Lost World, which is a very slow building track. Great chorus though on that one. Days of Future Past, things pick up a little bit, as well as on The Time Machine. Then we get the quite dark and brooding The Darkest Hour, before the epic succession of Death of the Celts, The Parchment, and Hell on Earth. Try and show that track list in full. I don't know, initially I just felt like it lacked pace and momentum. But over time I've come to really appreciate this album. I think that it is a very grand album. I think that it isn't as fast as some of the, or heavy even, as some of the previous albums. But what stunning instrumentation. What incredible songwriting. What brilliant musicianship this is. This is fantastic. Bruce Dickinson sounds great here. You know, he doesn't sound as crystal clear and as Air Raid Siren as he did in the 80s. He's not going to. He's been through a lot himself with his health. He's in his 60s. Hey, he's not going to, but he still sounds great. And I really can't stand it when you see people slating Bruce Dickinson. He's still got a great voice. He can still do it. That is for sure. And actually, what this album might lack in terms of speed and heaviness, it makes up for in terms of its grand, sophisticated eloquence. It's a very eloquent album, and it's got a lot of depth, certainly with tracks like The Days of Future Past, which is amazing. That's an album highlight. Darkest Hour, that speaks to me on so many freaking levels. I adore that. Same with Hell on Earth, the closing track. Those last three closing tracks, Death of the Celts, which is, you know, that's as close to the Klansman as you're ever going to get. That is that is such a folk tinged, rousing, great fist pumping track. Love that. And then we've got the Parchment as well. You know, that's almost a bit of a nod to Sign of the Cross. Just saying. But those tracks are all in excess of 10 minutes long. It's a very long album, a very big commitment, but it is worth it. It is worth the commitment, definitely. So I've grown to love it. I have it on CD, now have it on the triple vinyl, and I'm digging it in a very, very big way. Full of great tracks, so well written, so deep. So yes, Senjutsu, an album that I have grown to absolutely love. But there we have it. A breakdown of my latest vinyl editions from the mighty Iron Maiden. So just to recap, we've got Peace of Mind from 1983, a stunning album, one of the benchmark new wave of British heavy metal albums, here presented in delicious gatefold format. Then we've got Power Slave, heavy freaking metal Maiden excellence from 84. Such glorious album. Somewhere in Time, the futuristic glory of Maiden from 86. Then we've got a couple of double live albums here. We've got Death on the Road, a masterpiece. Absolutely love it. An interesting set list. Flight 666, Greatest Hits Live. And then the grand, bold statement, most recent album, Senjutsu, on triple vinyl. There we have it, my friends. So what are your thoughts and opinions on Maiden? What are your thoughts and opinions on these albums? Do you have the vinyl copies? Are you a fan of these albums? Let me know. I'm interested to hear thoughts and opinions of others, as always. But thank you very much for watching, my friends. Hope you've enjoyed this humble collection update. Do check back soon for more reviews and recommendations of all the good heavy things. Take care of yourselves. Until next time, stay freaking heavy.